Here's a question. Great episode or greatest episode?
I absolutely adored this episode. Last week took the throne for my favorite of the series, and I'm going to have to rewatch this, but this is definitely either one or two for me. I thought it was paced so well. And I know that it was a little bit of a more dialogue heavy episode, and we were jumping back and forth between a lot of different conversations, but the way that it was paced in with some of those holy shit moments, I thought was just dope.
The last week we were saying, man, tension's building. Okay, well, the tension's still building. All right, we're still in tension building mode, but it went from rising to it's about to explode. And seeing a little bit of the preview for next week, it's going to explode. It's just going to absolutely explode next week. So yeah, this to me was like peak Game of Thrones. This would fit right into this was like a season 3, season 4, season 5 sort of like mid-season finale towards the end. I mean, I think you could stack it right up there. There were so many great things, not only in just the base level, but just small little details I noticed too that we can dive into.
Yeah, for sure. And this is now we're with the cast. Like this is the cast, right? Going forward, we don't have to worry about these big, longer time jumps where like kids will be growing up and such, as far as we know, at least, right? Unless if something gets crazily, changed. So for me, I feel great about the casting. I really, really like Rhaenyra's kids. And then Aemon's first words out of his mouth just delivered. I mean, just absolutely.
Yeah.
Forget tournaments.
Ewan Mitchell is his name. And I'm all of the people I watch, like Grace Randolph beyond the trailer, and then Gray Area, our friend over there, she has the early screeners, and they all said the same thing where they're like, this is peak thing. And the one character they all said like you were gonna fall in love immediately with is Ewan Mitchell, who plays Aemond. And my God, he is just literally perfect for that role.
He had a good weight on screen. That first line delivered after we see him best Kristen Cole. I must call him Christian Cole. Kristen Cole. I was just like, okay, I'm sold on this character already. But we get that little like partial standoff with Daemon at the dinner scene, and I'm like, this is the Green's Daemon, right? Very much so. So, and also Rhaenys is all over this episode, acting her ass off, doing a great job. But to be honest, I think the MVP of this episode is without a doubt Viserys, Patty Constantine, acting.
Crushed it.
I mean, this guy deserves an award. I gotta say, my favorite moment in the entire series so far, the show so far, is Viserys coming to take the throne from Otto to listen to the dispute. I was yelling at my TV. I was like, Otto, get the hell out of there. Get the hell out of there. The king's here, baby.
And one of the details I noticed was when they were prepping him, the light of like the 7 was shining on him. Did you notice that? It was coming through the window, coming through the which I found interesting. And then of course they showed his model that he's building, which is of course in the intro, and there was like some smoke coming out of it. And
nice.
Then they had like the bells ringing, which I thought meant like, oh, he's dead, like earlier in the episode. But yeah, such a great job, and he's been fantastic this whole season. And one of the things is a lot of these characters, because there's been so many casting changes, Millie Alcock as young Rhaenyra was amazing, and Emma Darcy is phenomenal really as well. But they're playing essentially like two, different age groups of the character. And Matt Smith has pretty much been the same Daemon throughout. But Patty Constantine has really had to change almost every episode in the way he plays this character, because he's like just getting more old and decrepit and angry, and then back up and phenomenal. And then he gets one last sort of final goodbye, really, right? He gets to at least because he gets out of there before the fighting happens. And the Fire and Blood, we've always sort of thought that Alicent kills him, right? That she was in there reading with him, as it says, when he passed away, and totally different ending for it. But it was actually he just slipped away. So his ending now is actually more like kind of good, right? He had this one final good moment, and then he just, he's just old and gone, and he thinks he's telling Rhaenyra like you're the one, you're the one, and that is his final thing.
Yeah, and really him coming and taking that throne from Otto shows that like the mystique of the Targaryens. Like even if he was considered a weak king, he was conflicted through his whole rule. Him trying to make it up the steps and then him looking over and it being Daemon to help him and crown him.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I had a tear in my eye. I had a tear.
This episode, it's one of those things where sometimes we talk about, action, right? We need you got to have all the action, and then or we need like great dialogue. This episode did more, I felt like, than any other episode, and the whole show has done it well. A lot of shows don't really do this well. Just moments. They let the moment linger and happen, and they don't have to have talking. They don't have to have like crazy action. There were so many small things. Ewan, what is his name again? Let me pull it back up here just so I get it right. Ewan Mitchell, who played Aemond, he barely spoke, but you could just feel the weight in every scene he was in, with just his posture. He was like, but when they were bringing the pig out, he was just sitting there like he's very like locked in, ready to go, and it was just so great. And then that moment of Daemon helping him up, he didn't really have to say anything, but you just show it, and with
putting the crown on the head was
this show is like is like drinking a fine wine. You just say it's like drinking a port. You just savor it and let it,
Yeah, dude. And more so this episode than any of the others, because I we've been telling people, the pace has been crazy, but they are going to slow down now. We are now going to get into more personal scenes that are going to have less time between them because of less time jumps, right? And I just think that this episode is a really good indicator of what we're going to be getting. And there were so many small things, like you said. Did you see the cobwebs on the model right before we actually see Viserys, who, by the way, looks terrible? I mean, we said every week, but
I think he actually looked worse than the Tales from the Crypt guy in today's episode. At least the Tales from the Crypt guy has two eyes.
Yeah, for real. And him taking off that mask and saying, "I want you to see me. I want you to see me for who I am." And I was just God damn.
It was like watching The Dark Knight when Two-Face turns over for the first time in the hospital. And it's just like, literally, it's like the exact same thing. It was great,
dude. I was blown away by Patty Constantine this episode, and Viserys has to be now, one of the best kings we've ever seen on the screen in Westeros. I would say, I'm a big Mark Addy fan. I'm a big Bobby B fan. I might be getting a Viserys spray painting back here soon, because just has absolutely delivered on it, on Viserys, and made it Viserys much better than he was in Fire and Blood. So
what do we think about the new Aegon?
What a shit. What an absolute shit.
So he's so perfect for this role. For the role he's about to play. We won't go really into spoilers, but I'll just say this. If you think, and I've said this before, but I know sometimes on iTunes we've been getting comments of saying we're spoiling too much. So, I'll keep it dialed back a little bit here.
My wife also thinks so.
We spoil too much.
Yeah. She's like, I know what's coming now. Like,
okay. Well, the only thing else, just, if you think Joffrey and Ramsay are bad, you just wait.
Yeah. And just in general, some of the heinous stuff that takes place, we've been kind of hyping it up, but we saw what happens whenever you call some kids some bastards and a princess a whore. Didn't go very well.
I was not expecting that.
I was not expecting that either.
I don't think that's in Fire and Blood, is it?
No.
I have to go
not
back.
That I remember.
I was like, I don't remember it going down like that.
This is actually the first week I haven't reread the Fire and Blood section that I thought we would be covering. So I'm a little shaky on some of the details, but I'm fairly certain that didn't happen. I will see in my reread, but
it was like, wow. And then he just stands there with the sword. Like what?
Disarm him. Like, get out of here.
Yeah. Wow.
Not disarming anything.
I know. Now I'm blanking on all the, wow, you really lost his head there. Yeah.
Whenever he was like, and there was some anticipation there, whether he or not, he was going to say bastards, right? And then he yells it. And I'm like, well, that's one way of going about this. But he was done. You know, I mean, he was cooked. Rhaenys, which by the way, Rhaenys taking the deal. As soon as she walked away from that scene, my wife looks at me and she goes, "She'd be stupid not to take that. I don't care how much she doesn't like Rhaenyra." And I was like, "Yeah, it seems like a pretty bad deal if she does, or a pretty bad plan if she doesn't take it." And then Rhaenys actually does. So I was kind of glad that Rhaenys takes the deal, because if not, I would have had to question her intelligence. Um, I wonder if Rhaenys believes Rhaenyra that she had nothing to do with Laenor's death.
Right.
It just makes me wonder, and I also wonder how is Corlys going to feel about Daemon slicing his brother's head in half.
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be a big. That's going to be big,
Big.
big in the future. And I'm really, because if this is like totally does not happen in all the books, I'm really starting to think that there's a reason they showed us last week that Laenor Valerian is alive. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I feel now that somebody's going to figure it out.
Well, Corlys is like kind of MIA and no one knows what he's doing. Maybe Corlys is out there finding Laenor. Who knows? It would be a little too soon to bring him back, I think, but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely too soon. But I feel very certain that he is going to. Somebody's going to figure it out, and that's going to help with. That's going to be used against Rhaenyra, perhaps, in legitimacy or anything.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, and if they make any big changes from the source material. I'd be here for it. I thought Laenor's actor was excellent, and you could really get some drama out of that, I think. What about Rhaenys being there, watching the body be put together or prepped, and says, you know, it's unfavorable to look upon the dead, and she's like, I don't think this stranger cares whether my eyes are open or not.
Right.
Damn, dude, that was cold. That was a cold line. I continue to just love seeing her on screen. She is so unreadable in a good way.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see what House Valerian does going forward, because I feel like when Corlys comes back, there's going to be a split between him and Rhaenys.
Yeah, Rhaenys is definitely going to she said she has to stand on her own.
Yeah, House Valerian's role in the books, they've already gone so far sort of away from their the route that they go. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do with them.
They also just feel way more important on the screen, don't they? Like I really believe in that house. And Driftmark, I'm so glad we keep seeing more of Driftmark, like the chair, everything. I think that's great. I will never get tired of seeing King's Landing, by the way. Like coming up to the gate. And isn't it a pretty surreal? You know, we watch 8 seasons of Game of Thrones and keep hearing about the Targaryens. It's still 8 episodes into this show. Like, sends me for a trip when I see all the Targaryen banners hanging around King's Landing, because I'm so used to a Game of Thrones show, right? And it's just like, wow, we really are like in history. And when Viserys, and I'm going to keep coming back to this moment because I just think it's the best, but when Viserys is making the walk to go take a seat, I felt like this is grand epic history. Like I felt like this was real Westerosi history. And I can't speak highly enough of that moment. Like that's one of my favorite moments in television right now. Like that is
it's one of the best. It's by far one of the best moments in all of Game of Thrones that we've seen on screen. I mean, hands down.
It gave me chills, man. And you know, even more so than the big battles and the CGI and the dragons, it was that human moment of like a king past his prime coming to do his duty one last time. I'm a mark for that trope. Like that is something that I love. I love seeing it explored. And Viserys, for all the crap everyone talks about him, for him to come and just deliver in those moments was amazing. And also, like, you know, all the intimate moments that he had, even with Alicent towards the end, which we obviously need to talk about, but also like him seeing Rhaenyra and his grandchildren. Like it had a weight to it, didn't it?
It did. No, it very much did, because this whole season we've been talking about Viserys and where would we actually rank him among the kings, right? Yeah. He's no Maegor the Cruel. He's not Aegon the Fourth. He's not the Mad King. He's not as good as Prince Jaehaerys, who came before him, but he's really not bad.
Jaehaerys,
he's not right. Yeah, I mean, he's not. Well, I don't know. Aegon the Conqueror is
I mean, yeah, you know, hey, he
Right, yeah,
paved the
yeah.
way, you know.
But I mean, really, under his tenure as king, I mean, really, it's just kind of like the royal family, and then obviously a huge civil war is coming. But I think he's pretty good. I mean, most of the Targaryen kings are awful or bad. So I mean, just being decent is already like got you in the upper echelon.
Yeah, and the Baratheons didn't have a great showing. You know, the budget went
No,
out of control.
right.
So I think he's definitely top five. I think he's a top fiver for sure.